Hi, I'm Ernie Zor and I welcome you to our newest YouTube video, which will take you through a demonstration of the new Ohio Guardianship Forms application version 6. I'll call it OGF 6 in this video. As I get started, I'll mention that Pure to Spring Software has a number of videos on YouTube. These include demonstration videos that let you see an application in action before you buy it, as well as instructional videos that present tips on using an application effectively. Unfortunately, we don't have videos of all of our applications, but we're adding to the collection all the time and with every new release, like this one of Ohio Guardianship Forms version 6. I'll proceed by demonstrating some of the key features of OGF 6. You'll notice first that the screen is separated into two parts. The left part is a hierarchy of the available forms and worksheets. The right side displays whatever form or worksheet you selected on the left side. Generally, you use the left side of the screen, what I call the tree view, as an outline, guide, or a roadmap to completing guardianship forms. It's wise to always start with the general information worksheet because this worksheet feeds all the other guardianship forms. And this emphasizes one of the benefits of a dedicated application like OGF 6 over the court's web forms. That is, once you complete the general information worksheet, you are actually completing hundreds of fields throughout the complete set of guardianship forms. That's because the guardian's name, the ward's name, everybody's address, the case number, and all the other information you see on the general information worksheet appears on nearly each and every one of the nearly 100 pages of guardianship forms, and about 20% of those forms were added new on March 1st, 2017. How much time does that save? Well, try typing a case caption 100 times and see how long that takes you. As you look at the general information worksheet, you'll notice that there's light gray text in the fields. We call these ghost prompts, and if you're unsure of what to enter into a field, the ghost prompt gives you a hint. Also, if you consider the ghost prompts a distraction, they can be turned on and off on the options menu, which is the tools menu for Mac users. You could see there I went up there in the options menu and turned them all off. I'll turn them back on again. Otherwise, completing the worksheet is easy. Just tab from field to field and make your entries. I'm going to complete right now the case information and application sections to show you just how easy it is. And while I'm doing that, I'll make a few comments. First, as I already mentioned, when you complete a field on the general information worksheet, literally hundreds of fields throughout the complete collection of guardianship forms are also being completed instantaneously. Second, let's say you've got your form substantially completed and you notice a mistake. It's really easy to fix. You just go to that field that you want to change, make the change, and after you make the change, every occurrence of that field on every form in the complete set of guardianship forms will correct itself instantaneously. I'm buzzing along here. I just wanted to mention that I'm not going to complete all of the fields on the general information worksheet because that would be wasting your time as well as mine. But that's it right there. Just to show you one other thing, what I meant about when I said that the tree view is a guide to preparation. Let's say I completed step 1, the general information worksheet. Now I want to move on to step 2, which is naming and saving my file. I'll go ahead and I'll do that right now, and I'll call it OGF 6 YouTube demonstration video. You could see that only took a second. And it saved all of the guardianship forms in one file, which, if you're used to using the court's web forms, you'd be saving 10 different forms in 10 different files, and they wouldn't be able to exchange information with one another, and it's just not good for a professional law office. Maybe it's good for a layperson trying to cheese their way out of not using an attorney to get their guardianship done, but for a law office, you don't want to waste that kind of time. And now I'm good to move on to step 3, the asset worksheet. And for that purpose, I'm going to open up a file that I've already created that has information in it already, so again that you don't have to watch me do rote data entry. The asset worksheet is the place where you enter all your guardianship receipts, income, and assets. I'll make an entry in the worksheet right now just to show you. One advantage of the worksheet is that you might have an entry that appears on more than one form. Maybe that entry belongs on Form 15.5, the inventory, and Form 15.8, the accounting, and the value belongs on either of the applications, Form 16 or 17. Well, with the worksheet, all I need to do is make that entry one time and then direct that entry to the various forms by checking the appropriate destination checkbox. You'll notice that the accounting Form 15.8 has two checkboxes, and that's because the front of the form is for receipts, whereas the back side is for assets that might typically be carried forward from one accounting period to the next. Note that when you check a box, you must also select a category or class for the asset so that OGF 6 knows what's an automobile and what's real estate, for example. That's important, and it also allows OGF 6 to subtotal the different categories of assets, income, and receipts, and that brings me to another huge advantage over the court's web forms. Because when you're using the worksheet, you can make your entries in any order you wish. OGF 6 will put them in chronological order and separate and subtotal them automatically. And don't forget, if you make a change, no retyping or retotaling is necessary. It all happens automatically. Another nice feature of the worksheets is that they support copying and pasting. Therefore, if you have a legal description of real estate in your word processor, for example, you can copy and paste it right into OGF 6. Yeah, there it goes. I had some text, some Latin filler text, and you saw how easy it was for me to paste it right into the asset description box. Very cool. And with that, I think you'll get the idea. So I'll open a demonstration. I've opened the demonstration file that has the asset worksheet already completed, and you don't need me to watch. Me enter each one. Now that I've got some assets and other receipts in here, I can show you how the buttons work. Although I think you'll find them pretty straightforward anyway. But from left to right, first, the first button goes to the first. Let me start over on that one again. The first button goes to the first row in the table on the bottom of the portion of the screen. It looks like a spreadsheet. It acts like one too. It's already on the first row, so just to show you, I'll jump to the end of the table, and then I'll click on the first button, and you'll see that the focus has returned to that very first row of the table. And that's the specific information from that row that appears on the top portion of the screen. In fact, the top portion of the screen is where you enter all your information. Next is the prior button. If you have more than one row in the table and you're not already on the first one, clicking this button moves focus to the preceding row. The next button, like the prior button, if you have more than one row in the table and you're not already on the last one, clicking this button moves focus to the next row. That row's information then appears on the top part of the screen. The last button, this button moves focus to the last row in the table. The insert button, this button inserts a new blank space in the worksheet right ahead of the row that you currently have focused. I'll insert a row right now so that you can see how easy it is to enter asset, income, and receipt information. There, good enough. Next is the delete button. This one shouldn't need much of an explanation. It deletes the current row, the row with the focus, and if there are additional rows below that one, they'll all move up one. Next is the add button. This is like the insert button, the difference being that the new blank row appears at the end of the table. Now I'd like to devote just a few seconds here to alphabetizing and sorting. Using the add and insert functions, you can enter assets in any order you like, and that may be all you ever need to do. However, if you want to change the order of the rows in the table, you can use the custom copy and paste buttons like so. I'll copy this entry, and I will paste it here. Now note that you can paste a row so that it will replace the current row, or you can paste a row so that it is inserted before the current row. And of course that gives you some like an infinite amount of options in terms of arranging your entries. You also have the option of entering your information in any order you like and sorting the table by whatever field you click the column header of, like so. We give you a chance there, as you saw. We give you an opportunity rather to cancel out of that because there's no undo for sorting. And you'll notice that an error popped up on the screen there, and that's because I didn't have a date in, and it was attempting to sort it, I think, by the date field, and I had left some date fields blank. Not very important. And with that, I would like to go to the expense worksheet. That's the next step in completing your guardianship forms, and you'll see that the expense worksheet is roughly the same as the asset worksheet, and I don't think it's necessary to take you through the entry process because it's identical to that used in the asset worksheet. I guess the main difference is that there's only one place to send expenses, and that's Form 15.8. Next thing is the time and services worksheet. Many law offices have a custom or a dedicated system for tabulating their bill for services, and that's fine. However, OGF 6 has a worksheet for keeping track of your billable hours, and it's integrated into the OGF 6's application and judgment entry for attorney fees. So you may want to use that. If not, you can use your own system. You know, another thing I wanted to mention is some of these forms have, instead of fields like you're looking at the general information worksheet right now, all of these fields are just single line entries. But there are some forms that have multiple line entries. I'll try to find one. I think 27 point something, maybe 27.2. Or nope, that was a bad guess. Let me go down the row. I'll go to 27.3. Okay, not the best example, but it is a good example, I guess, enough. You'll see that the reason there it says it has a 132 character limit. What's nice about these multiple line entries is that in previous versions and with other programs, including the court's web forms, if you're going to enter in text that covers more than one line, a lot of times you have to be careful, like you would with a typewriter, for example, where you want to type and then make sure you go to only type in enough text so for that line and then go to the next line. Well, with these multi-line edit boxes that we've got here, you don't have to be so careful. You can just go and type it in as much as you can, and it will format it across as many lines. And in some instances, and this is not a good example, this form that we're looking at now, but in some instances, I think one of the judgment entries, there's like 6 inches of space. So if you type a lot of text, it'll just expand to fill up the form very, very nicely. Can't beat it with any other way of doing it, actually. And it actually it's heads and shoulders above what we were doing in the prior version of Ohio Guardianship Forms. So it really is neat. Next thing I want to do and talk about is previewing and printing. It's actually probably the last thing I want to talk about. And first, I got to tell you that if you have a Mac version, you're going to need to have Microsoft Word for Mac installed as your word processor. Because on the Mac, OGF 6 does all of its previewing and printing using Word. If you have the Windows version, it doesn't matter whether you use Word. You do not have to have Word. Although Microsoft Word for Windows is preferred, it's not required to preview and print beautiful probate forms. There are a few reasons why it's preferred, and I'll tell you what they are right now. One is that Word allows you to access some of the more extraordinary print functions that are available on your printer. like duplex printing, where the second page is printed on the back side of the first page. And there are other word processing options that you might like to use, such as saving a form as a PDF file, or and emailing it to your client with instructions to print, review, sign, and return, or printing non-sequential pages, like if you had an inventory or an accounting completed and you just needed to make a correction on pages 2, 4, and 10, then Word lets you print only those 3 pages that you want, and doing it is a breeze. Let me click on, let me see if I can bring up the print dialog. There it is. Yeah, that's your typical Word print dialog, and you can see all the different options. Now, I don't have duplex printing because I don't have a duplex printer, but that would, if I had those printing capabilities, that would be available in this print box. So you can see how that works. Anyway, that's it. I've taken you through most of the important OGF functions so I can give you a useful overview, and I hope you've been impressed by what you can do with OGF 6 and how it can save you time while making your completed forms look more professional. A couple of additional things you might like to know is that you don't need an internet connection to use OGF 6, although you need an internet connection to download and install it and to check for updates, but you don't need one to actually use the application. So if your internet connection is down, no big deal. Also, another thing that's interesting to know, or important to know, is that when you buy OGF 6, you're buying the program. You're not licensing it in that sense or renting it. There's no annual or monthly subscription fees. In fact, there's no fees at all during the life of the application, which typically the life cycle is about 4 to 6 years. During that time, updates are free. And you'll want to make sure that you factor that in when you're considering what's right for your office. Now, there's a lot more that can be said about OGF 6, but our goal is to make our demonstration videos at about 10 minutes. And with that, I want to personally thank you for watching and wish you the best. And don't forget to check out our new Pure to Spring Software Facebook page for all the latest info, a link to our YouTube channel, and more. Thanks again.